My name is Toma Reyes. I want to tell you about the day my alien crewmate learned why humans are called Deathworlders. It is a strange name, and for a long time, I thought it was just a joke. By the end of this story, you will understand why nobody on my ship laughs about it anymore. I served on a research ship called the Kethrani Dawn. It was a joint mission between humans and an alien species called the kethrani. They were tall, calm, and careful people, with gray skin and eyes that moved slowly, as if they were always thinking 3 steps ahead. They were kind. They were also very cautious. Everything they did was planned, measured, and double-checked. This was very different from how humans usually worked. One of the kethrani scientists on board was named Sela Vex. She studied living creatures for a living, and she had chosen to study us. Every day, she followed me with a small recorder clipped to her uniform, asking questions about human life. At first, I found it funny. She acted like she was studying a dangerous animal in the wild, even though I was just a normal engineer eating breakfast. One morning, she sat across from me while I ate a plate of eggs. She looked at me the way someone looks at a puzzle they cannot solve. "Do you know," she said, "that your species is officially listed as a Deathworlder race in the Coalition records?" I smiled. I've heard that before. Something about our planet trying to kill us. "It is not a joke," she said. "Earth has gravity that would break the bones of my people. It has weather that can destroy entire cities. It has diseases, wild animals, and sudden disasters. Our scientists believe that any species born on a planet like that should have gone extinct long before they built simple tools. Yet here you are, eating eggs, calmly." I laughed again, but she did not laugh with me. She was serious. So, I decided to tell her a story. Not a scary story, just a true one. I told her about my grandmother, who once survived a huge storm by holding onto a doorframe for many hours, while parts of her house were torn away by the wind. When the storm ended, she did not cry or give up. She simply began cleaning up and rebuilding her home the very next day. I told her about the time I hurt my leg while hiking in the mountains, far from any road. I did not wait for someone to save me. I wrapped my leg the best I could and walked most of the way back on my own, because sitting and waiting felt worse than the discomfort of walking. I told her about ordinary things too, how humans go to work even when we are sick, how we keep driving through storms, how we return to normal life quickly after difficult events. To me, these were just small, unremarkable stories. Everyone's family has stories like this. Sela Vex stopped eating. She looked at me for a long moment. "You speak about these events as if they are normal," she said quietly. "They are normal," I said. "Ask any human. Everyone has a story like that." I noticed something change in her eyes. It was not fear exactly, but it was close to it. It was the beginning of understanding something she had not expected. Over the next few weeks, this small conversation turned into something bigger. Sela Vex began talking to the other kethrani scientists on board, comparing notes about human behavior. At the same time, I started noticing things about my own crew that I had never really thought about before. There was Chief Okafor, who once hurt his shoulder during a repair job outside the ship. Instead of stopping, he simply guided his shoulder back into place himself and kept working, as if it were a small inconvenience rather than a painful injury. There was Petty Officer Lindquist, who worked extra shifts without complaint, even during a very difficult time in her life, because she said that staying busy helped her more than resting did. None of them ever asked to be excused from their duties. None of them made a big deal about discomfort or hardship. To them, dealing with problems calmly and moving forward was simply a normal part of life. Sela Vex found this both amazing and worrying. One evening, she sat with me in the ship's quiet observation room, going over notes on a small screen. "Your body's reaction to danger and discomfort does not match anything in our models," she said. "By our calculations, several members of your crew should be resting and recovering from stress right now. Instead, they are in the dining hall, laughing and playing cards." "Is that a bad thing?" I asked. "I do not yet know what it means," she admitted, "but it worries me." A few days later, something happened that helped her understand it fully. There was a small problem in one of the ship's cooling systems. It was not a dangerous emergency. No one's life was at risk. But it needed to be fixed quickly, or we would lose an important system for many hours. Warning lights flashed through the hallways, and an alarm sounded across the ship. The kethrani crew reacted exactly as they were trained. They moved calmly and carefully to their stations, following every rule in order, just as their training told them to do. It was smart, disciplined behavior. It was exactly what their culture valued deeply. I went the other way. I did not really think about it. My feet simply carried me toward the problem before my mind had finished deciding what to do. When I got there, Chief Okafor was already working on it, his hands wrapped in a thick cloth to protect them from the heat of the metal pipes. I joined him without a word. The area was very warm, and the machine was hissing loudly, but neither of us paused to think about how uncomfortable it was. We just focused on fixing the problem, one step at a time. It took less than a minute. The warning lights turned off, the hissing stopped, and the ship returned to normal. My hands were a little sore afterward, and Okafor had a small mark on his palm from the heat, but nothing serious happened to either of us. Selavex found me later, sitting quietly while a small machine treated the sore spot on my hand. She looked at Okafor's hand too, studying it closely, almost as if she was trying to memorize every detail. "You did not hesitate," she said, "not even for a second." "There wasn't really time to think about it," I said. "There is always time to hesitate," she replied. "Hesitation is what tells a living being to protect itself from harm. It is a natural and important response to danger. You do not seem to have it, or perhaps you have it, but something inside you has learned not to listen to it." I thought about her words for a long moment before answering. "Where I come from," I said slowly, "if everyone stopped and waited until their fear went away before doing anything, a lot of people would never have made it through hard times. So, over many, many years, I think humans stopped waiting so much. We still feel fear. We just don't let it stop us as often as it stops other people." She did not answer right away. She simply looked at her notes, then back at me, then at Okafor's hand, and finally out through the window at the stars. That night, she wrote something in her research log. She later let me read it, because by that time, we had become close friends, not just scientist and subject. She wrote that she had first labeled humans as Deathworlders simply as a note about where we came from, a comment on our difficult home planet. But now, she said, she understood the term differently. She wrote that Earth had not failed to challenge humans. Instead, Earth had tried, for millions and millions of years, in every possible way, to make life difficult for us. Storms, sickness, hunger, cold, heat, and countless other struggles had shaped human bodies and minds for a very, very long time. She wrote that what survived all of that was not simply strong, it was something else. It no longer reacted to difficulty the way most living things naturally do. It had learned, slowly and over countless generations, to keep moving forward, instead of stopping in fear. She said that she had not simply found a species that managed to escape a demanding planet. She had found a species that demanding planet had shaped on purpose, over an unimaginably long time, and then simply ran out of new challenges to throw at us. I still remember reading those words for the first time. I did not feel proud when I read them. I did not feel like a hero. I mostly just felt a quiet kind of understanding, the same way you feel when someone explains something about your own family that you always knew but never had the words for. Selavex and I still work together on the Kethrani Dawn today. She still studies human behavior, though now more out of friendship and curiosity than worry. Sometimes she still looks a little surprised when I brush off something small that would trouble her crewmates for days. I have stopped trying to explain it as bravery, because I do not think it really is bravery. Bravery usually means choosing to do something difficult, even though you are scared. For humans, I think, it is not always a choice. It is simply what is left of us after thousands of years of hardship failed to stop us completely. We did not defeat our home planet. We are not stronger than every challenge it created. We simply kept surviving, generation after generation, until surviving itself became part of who we are. Sometimes, late at night, I sit in the observation room and look out at the stars with Selavex beside me. She still asks questions. I still try to answer them honestly, even when the answers are strange to her. Not long ago, she asked me one final question that I still think about often. "Do you ever feel afraid?" she asked. "The way we do? The way most living things do?" I thought about it carefully before answering. Yes, I said. I feel afraid sometimes. Everyone does. I think humans just learned, a long time ago, not to let that feeling be the last word. We feel it, and then we act anyway. She was quiet for a while after that. Then she smiled, in the small, careful way that kethrani smile, and said something I will never forget. Perhaps, she said, that is the true meaning of Deathworlder. Not a creature your planet failed to defeat. A creature your planet built, without meaning to, strong enough to keep going long after most others would have stopped. I did not have a clever answer for that. I simply nodded and looked back out at the stars, thinking about my grandmother holding onto that doorframe during the storm, and about every person before her who had done the same, in their own quiet way, long before I was ever born. We were never meant to survive so much, but somehow, we always did, and I think that is the real reason they call us Deathworlders. Not because our planet was dangerous, but because it never quite managed to stop us.